Hey y'all, welcome back to the Takeoff. This is your host Max Henry, and before I introduce today's guest Camila Stefaniu, I want to say a quick word about all of the events that have happened in the parkour community this past weekend, as we all learned that Callum Powell pled guilty to making and possessing indecent images of children. And as I kind of mentioned on my YouTube, Callum's been a friend of mine for a long time. Um, Obviously, it's been incredibly painful to see that relationship explode as more and more information has come forward about this. And he's been on the podcast as well, and I currently have that episode private. Want to figure out exactly what the most appropriate move is for addressing his impact on the culture, which has been huge and dramatic over the last 20 years, and how to reconcile that with obviously this incredibly disturbing news. And I don't think that it's quite the time or place yet to make any of those decisions. So for now, I took that off. We do, I believe, mention Callum's book in this episode. And obviously, this episode and the next episode, which we have with Dylan Poland, both were recorded before any of this came out and was public knowledge. So if that is triggering for you, I apologize. And yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Now, on a brighter note, we've got Camila Stefaniu talking about the Brazilian parkour community, her experience growing up in that community, going from finding out about parkour at age 8 or 9 to becoming one of the most internationally recognized female athletes in the scene. I'm so happy that this episode is coming out now. Camila has been a huge inspiration for me in my training. She's somebody, along with Kevin Franson, and Nico Van Hol, that I say to me represent the parkour athlete's parkour athlete. I think that everybody would love to have some of Camila's movement style, her vision, and we talk about that and how she's developed that style, recommendations that she has for other people on how to play with tempo and rhythm to really enhance their experience of parkour and how it looks and feels in their body. And in addition to all the kind of fun cross-cultural stories and references that she has from her times in Brazil, Portugal, and now living in Belgium, coaching at Hall 5. So I really appreciate you tuning in. Again, apologies to anybody that is listening that doesn't want to hear any references about Callum or his book. And I understand how difficult of a time, trust me, personally, I definitely understand how difficult of a time it is for you guys. And yeah, this will be a nice change of pace for you. So enjoy an hour with Camila Stefaniu. Camila Stefaniu, welcome to the Takeoff. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm glad we finally figured out a way to make this work.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and like finally speak to you after we tried to schedule it so many times, but yeah, excited.
It's worth the effort. Well, you just came off of a very epic skill performance in Hall 5 at the SPL qualifier. How was that? How are the skill challenges? They looked really fun.
Yeah, they were mostly like really fun actually. Especially the first day of the community rounds, that was really enjoyable. Just be training with people and stuff. And yeah, I was happy with my performance and do the last challenge. But yeah, I just was not
I
familiar
don't
with
know
the
if I saw
technique.
what happened. Yeah,
It
what
was
happened
just
on the
like
last challenge?
it was a swing. No, it was a pre to a bar, and then you go down to swing, pre to another bar, and then dive cone. And it's not something I'm crazy familiar with, like the drop down to the bar to swing. Like I do that to cat most often, but not too much to pre. And then that one was to the bar, and like I don't know. I
Yeah.
knew I had the distance, but I was not fully confident, and just overthinking a bit too much, I guess. And yeah, that kind of got me like out of nowhere in the last challenge, like yeah, out of first place. But it's tough to learn about as well because I could have done the challenge. Like at the last attempt, I actually came a little bit short, and then I stuck the pre, and then I stopped before the dive conk. So like it's like very close. Um, so yeah, that was it. Besides that, I was really happy with my performance in general, and super happy to be feeling good and strong to compete again after SPL last year that I was dealing with so many different kinds of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just happy to learn and get things going and do more. Excited.
Yeah. I
So,
I'm curious how you feel about this because I never have the expectation that I'm going to get close to winning in a competition. because I'm not good enough to like compete with an Ed or a Tim or somebody like Daryl, somebody like that. I'm just like, I
I
know I'm
think
not gonna win, so I'm just there to
you're
learn.
yeah, you're really good at the time before, you know. That's the thing. Yeah,
I'm always
for sure.
curious, like for me, when I find a movement like that, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like the realization, like, oh, I never really go from my feet into a swing. I always kind of like to be exposed like that in a competition because it's like an indication for me, oh, I don't train that enough. Maybe I should try that more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you enjoy finding those holes in your training, or is it more like frustrating?
No, I think of course it can be frustrating depending on the situation. A competition can be frustrating as well, but I think there's no like, for me at least, I started to not think like too heavily about like just making a mistake and like failing or something, like failing like, for like a goal or something, but just more like just learning from it and getting feedback from it and then just doing more from that experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, it gives you some feedback on something that you're not been dealing with, and I think there's a positive thing from competing. Like either if it's just like your mental state or a technique, you know. But if it's
Yeah.
like the problem of this thing in specific is something that I knew I was not training often. I didn't have time. I mean, I did have time, and I trained a lot of swings and other things, but not that specific thing to a
You are at the
rodeo.
gym that hosts swings and other things, so you're
Yeah, I actually
required to
said
do
that. Yeah.
both swings and other
But
things.
that's the thing, man. And the swings are so fucking hard for me. Like since I started parkour, like now they improved a lot, but I think still they're not there yet, you know. But I took so
Hmm.
long to pick on bars, you know, like coming from Brazil. Like I mean, we had some little playgrounds and some stuff, but not swing at all, like technique wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit on trees and stuff, mostly under bars actually. But
That's what I was gonna say
underbar
because
addiction is yeah.
the Brazilian community, I mean, I remember watching early videos of Pedro Thomas in
Mhm.
Brasilia in like 2008, 2009, and he was
Yeah.
really early in pioneering the like underbar tree lache precisions and strides. Like he
Yeah.
did some really cool combos with that. But when you're in a tree or at a playground, a lot of times the bars are like the
Mhm.
height of your chest or your eye. You can't get a full swing on it.
Or really
So
wobbly or
that is
something.
tougher. Or
Yeah.
really wobbly, yeah.
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 Well, before I do want to ask you a ton about your
Yeah.
training
We'll
as
see.
a kid, and we'll jump into that. But before that, I
Yeah.
do want to say, because you brought up your injury last year,
Mhm.
word on the street is, and David and Alec already dropped this on like episode 5, so we can talk about it legally
Oh,
without
okay.
getting sued by the Commons.
Oh, okay, they talked about it. I didn't listen to the episode with them
They well,
actually.
they said they
What
said
they said?
they name dropped that you had a
Oh,
video
okay.
part. You and
Okay.
Kevin have
Yeah.
video parts coming out for the Commons. So
Okay.
when, how has the filming been going? First of all, what's the process been like? And when do I get to enjoy the next full Camilla video part? Because I cannot
Oh
wait.
man, I'm actually in a
No pressure,
position.
by the way, because I've been editing
Yeah.
Davis's
Yeah.
video part for three years. So like, I will not judge you if it takes a long time.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, it's been taking a little bit longer than expected because of logistics with filmers and me, pretty much.
Yep.
But I've been feeling really good now, and I wish I could be shooting like right now the past I think 5 or 6 months, or even a little bit like I think 6 months at least. I haven't shot anything because I was shooting the project Mikesh, and Mikesh went to Japan for a couple months, and I knew that was gonna happen and stuff. And of course,
Yeah.
I had this plan of
Those
maybe.
girlfriends will get you.
Yeah, exactly. So he did that to me. But I knew that was gonna happen, and I knew there was a chance that like I was gonna just be able to shoot with him back in May. But my plan was to
Mm-hmm.
try to shoot some stuff maybe in Belgium, but the weather was really shit this winter. It was actually pretty bad. So my plan was just to get stronger and like be doing more things, and then now when he gets back to be able to shoot a bit more. But before that, we shot for quite a bit of time last year, like a couple months. I would say maybe from May to October or something. I did had
Sick.
a broken finger on the first two shoots that we had. But some of the clips I'm keeping, but yeah, you're gonna see what you're gonna see.
I
I was
mean,
I was
broken
I was
finger you can work around.
I was working around it, hustling a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think
Ha
it's something that has been really challenging for me, but also really fun to shoot, and also yeah, just push myself in different ways. Like I just want to make this be really good and something that I'm
yeah.
happy with, of course. So maybe it takes a bit of time, but I hope that by the end of this year we get something out already. Like I think that's the plan.
Nice.
I mean, hopefully for earlier, maybe like a bit before the end of the year. Of course, I'll be happy with, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for that. I feel like your movement has
Yeah.
changed, not changed a lot, but it's been really cool to see how it has developed. I think you've gotten, I when I first started seeing clips of you,
Hmm.
I you it was kind of like when I first started seeing videos of Tam. You two both had like a very sort of like
Cool.
flowy A to B style where I think you were like moving through spaces in really technical, flowy ways. But recently you've been killing it with like the single obstacle setups and just kind of doing more creative, innovative things with like one or two obstacles. I guess, what has been the vibe shift for you? Like, what's the, is that a new
Hmm.
fascination or do you feel like your style is changing and developing right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to, yeah, I'm exploring. I would say, like, yeah, just trying to. I'm always trying to learn new things, but also just explore movement in general. And yeah, last year I finished up the year with like, okay, I want to do a lot of A to B lines and impact again, and I mean,
Mhm.
like big jumps and okay, cool, that was fun. But I also started to feel the need sometimes to just have these more few sessions for myself that sometimes can be actually really hard and really tiring. Uh, just repeating something a lot of times till it gets really smooth, like I would say,
Mhm.
but less impact. And I think sometimes I need that as well in my training because I mean, the thing I love to do the most is just to be able to flow around, move, and feel movement. And yeah, I did a workshop with Matt McCreary recently. Actually, the week
Oh,
before I
sick.
competed in SPL, yeah, and it was a lot on like furniture, obstacle, like movement, and a little bit of acting. Like there was a lot of stuff in the workshop, and I don't know, I just captured a lot from that, and I want to bring a little bit more that to my parkour, my vision of movement in general. So I think that's from where the chair video came from. You probably saw that. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw that.
Yep.
But it's yeah, it's just my fascination with movement, and I want to be able to express myself, I guess, in different ways than just like classic parkour. But I want to figure out ways to do that, and I'm still a bit figuring out. Yeah, just trying to
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah. Do you feel I that sounds really healthy the way that you described how you were kind of integrating both of those styles, and I think that that's something that I want to do more of. I don't really get as much, I don't want to say I don't get as much joy. I'm less inclined naturally
Mm-hmm.
to see like what Matt is doing now with how he's practicing parkour. I don't see it and go, "Oh my gosh, I really want to look like I
Uh-huh.
had way
Uh-huh.
too many Heinekens next to a trash can and then go around there for 60
Yeah. Yeah.
minutes and like try and put together a line." I like to watch him do it. It doesn't feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's that exciting for me to try, but I think that when I watch you or Rachel, or a handful of other people who had very impacty or more like traditional parkour styles that are experimenting in some of these other like flowy single obstacle ways, it feels like a great rest day or recovery day way
Uh-huh.
to still get out in session, or you're just like, I don't want to take a ton of impact today and do big running
Mm-hmm.
precisions or like big Kong precisions. It sounds really nice. And that
Yeah. Yeah.
seems like that's kind of how you're able to mix those two, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. But also, like, yeah, this thing with Matt, I guess he went more this way now with just like dance and performance and a lot about framing and like
Hmm.
how, telling a story through the videos, I guess, that he posts more than parkour clips, I guess.
It's
Um,
very artistic. Yeah, for
Yeah, of
sure.
course
It's
that.
definitely got big contemporary dance vibes.
Yeah, yeah, it goes more like it has a little sprinkle of parkour sometimes, but it's not like you can say it's just parkour,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course, with me, I want to just take some stuff out of what I could learn from him for like those 3 days that we were there, and like just try to bring something out. But doesn't mean I'm not gonna like copy what he's doing or something like that, you know. Just I want to find my own
Yeah.
ways of doing things and just yeah, feeling out what feels right for me as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, of course, like having a cool day where you get impact and you do a big challenge is absolutely crazy rewarding and it's super fun. Nice. But like a
Yeah.
chill day where you just move around, I don't know, listen to music or just be by yourself or like have a I love forest sessions. I've been having a lot of forest sessions. It's just so peaceful, you know. And it still
Yeah.
connects a lot to myself, I guess, with this part of me that just loves movement and I don't care if I'm filming or yeah, whatever
Do you train
else.
alone a lot, or are you
um,
mostly training with other people?
I mean, not alone anymore, actually, no. But because in Leuven there's always people training, or like in Belgium in general, it's very easy
Mm-hmm.
to go somewhere and like there's always people around. But I used to when I was in my hometown as well. I guess we're gonna get into more later. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah,
let's jump into that because
yeah,
I think this is a cool place to talk about
hmm,
where one of the things I was gonna ask you too is like where did your what was your motivation or like who did you look up to when you were developing your style early
mm,
on?
yeah,
And I'm curious because you started pretty young. Would you mind just kind of giving me your
yeah.
origin story?
Yeah, yeah. That's so much like to remember. Like it's crazy to think now. Like I've been doing parkour for more than half my life. Like it's
Congrats.
been I don't know how many
Yes.
years anymore. Like because I got to know parkour when I was 8 to 9 year old, I think. Because
Oh, wow.
my brother saw something on TV and like a Jump London documentary or something like randomly while we were having dinner, and then he Google or YouTube or no YouTube up and like checked, and it was just like some parkour tutorials, and then he was going to practice parkour. I was going to play football at the time at the same little place, this square. And then at some point, I started to join him in some parkour sessions. That's the first contact I had with parkour. But I was still playing football and doing other sports for some time until I actually got hooked in parkour and just did parkour and parkour, parkour. But so yeah, I got to know it with my brother. I trained with him for many years, and then I had this in and outs with like I don't know. I just got hooked on skateboarding, and then I got hooked into like
Mm-hmm.
horse riding, and then like I don't know, football I played until I was like 17, 18. Like so it was a long
You were another horse girl. What is up with all you and Tam?
yeah, and
All the
then yeah,
flowy, talented
I
parkour horse girls.
it was crazy when I met Tan and we actually spoke about this and she told me she rode horses. I was just like, fuck, that's crazy. So,
There's a few
uh
other people too who
yeah,
are like surprisingly good. I don't know what the crossover is there, just like
yeah.
watching courses, but
I guess my inspirations, I guess, growing up, first of all, was mostly, I guess, Brazilian people as well, because it took me
hmm
a long time to also speak English and to be able to search stuff in English, I guess, in general. And yeah. Um,
so
I guess,
who were those Brazilian athletes? Because I know Pedro Thomas and Bacon Man were the two that I followed early days from
yeah,
Brazil.
yeah. Yeah, Pedro Thomas for sure. I got to know very early on. There was some old school guys from the Northeast as well, like very old school, like super strong. There's just crazy workouts and like crazy to be fast running lines and stuff.
Yeah.
There was Paulo Vitor, which nowadays is like getting super
hmm
famous in Brazil, doing comedy and content creator stuff. But he actually super crazy good flowy guy. Um, I'm forgetting about someone. Yeah, I'm probably forgetting about someone, and I'm gonna remind later.
So we can name drop them in there. Were
Luis
there
Alchemy. When I got to know about, but this is later because I didn't know Luis was Brazilian until a couple years later. But yeah, I saw videos
yeah.
of him back then. But I thought he was Portuguese. But I remember seeing something. and also really liking his style. Tam was the first girl that I watched. That's for sure. Like that's the thing we were talking about that I saw at the time. Like I watched her videos and I was like, "Whoa, like this girl, like she flows so nicely and she dress like baggy and like loose." And I don't know. At the time, I think most of the very famous parkour girls were actually just wearing, I guess, leggings and like more sporty clothes
Mm-hmm.
and with a gymnastics base. And I also didn't have access to gymnastics, so I was really like just parkour and yeah, just the flips I knew was like some stuff that I learned by myself. And yeah, that was basically that. So that's why I guess I
Yeah.
got drawn to Tem directly, and then later on also, yeah, some other people for communities around my hometown that really inspired me. And yeah, they really embraced me in the community as well from a young age. And that was, I think, one
Mm-hmm.
of the most inspiring things for me as well. Just like this local heroes, I would say. Um, yeah, that was really fun time.
Yeah. What was the community like in Brazil at that time? Because you're saying that there were
Um,
some old school strengthy guys. I remember Paulo Vitor. I think I actually met at the Art of Motion in São Paulo in 2011, and remember him being very like had jacked and also had a like big acrobatic trick set.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I also remember being amazed when I went to São Paulo for Art of Motion. There was a huge women's community, and I did not.
Hmm.
To this day I don't know who any of them were because I don't think they had social media or YouTube and they weren't filming. But it was like that was the first time I ever went to an event, and there were probably 20 or 30 women who were in their 20s or like late teens, and they were all
The
doing like really nice climb ups, cat leaps, like Kong precisions. It
Perf.
felt like there was a whole untapped group of athletes that were like at an elite level of parkour for where women were in
Yeah.
the sport at that time. And I
Hmm.
had never heard of any of them, and I was like, oh my god, this is insane.
Yeah. It's really sad that like probably a lot of these people stopped. Like, yeah, I knew one girl that's actually like very legendary old school, Isis Hibas, which have like a
Yes,
lot of
yeah.
videos on yeah, so her like she trained for a long time and then ended up stopping like later on, but was also a big reference. But a lot of these people from this time, of course, yeah, we don't hear about anymore. But also, when was this art of motion? Was the one that people tried to sabotage or something?
It
Yeah, yeah.
was, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
2011.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
funny story. Yeah, yeah. It was when was starting training, so I guess
Okay.
yeah, I was just hearing these stories from this. But
Well, that's a good place
yeah,
because I was asking you what the
so
Brazilian community was like when you started,
mm-hmm.
and so there was for the listener basically a protest event at the Red Bull Art of Motion
Yeah,
of anti-competition Brazilian
yeah,
parkour people, and I know that there, at least my perspective is that there's a lot of sort of old school practitioners there, and
that's
then
good. We
there's
can talk
also a
about
lot
that
of
as
the
well.
sort of
Yeah,
like newer school guys. Yeah, how would you describe the Brazilian community when you started and maybe
yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah. So I think like um as I said before, people were always very welcoming and stuff, but of the mentality of the people there around my hometown at least, and the cities around it as well, was I mean, it was parkour, it was fun, but a lot of strength training, a lot of like I don't know, quadrupedo, cat balance,
Mhm.
everything like yeah, this old school way of
I
training,
love an
pretty
old
much.
school training session. I'm not yeah, I'm not gonna throw shade
Yeah,
at them
yeah.
for being really good at muscle ups and QM.
However, like there is a point where like you just want to learn more than that, you know.
Mhm.
And actually, I got some beef with the guy who used to coach at my hometown for some time, and yeah, he's kind of crazy as well. But I don't want to get into that. But I wanted to learn more, and then at some point I started to do that a little bit by myself. But I felt like the community around that area was very a bit like against flips. Be
Mhm.
strong to be useful. No competition. Like even for filming clips, like people had like some stuff, and I was just like, guys, what the fuck? Like, you should just film your stuff, like just to check later, or like just to have a memory. Like, I don't know. And I regret like in the
Yeah.
first 2 3 years of my training, maybe I didn't film too much because it was not seen as a cool thing to be doing. It was like, oh, you just want people to. You're just doing it for the likes or just doing it for the views. And that's so wrong. And there's not even a place for me to post at the time. I was too young. But
Yeah.
yeah, so there was this very strong old school, I guess, community, and I think there is still people like they're thinking like that and still doing their thing, you know. But I think
Mm-hmm.
nowadays we already got a lot over that, and the parkour developed a little bit more, and there's a lot more gyms nowadays. There's a lot more competitions going on. There's still jams going on and happening frequently, but I wouldn't say as frequently as years back. I think there was more often that we would gather just for jams. Nowadays, it's usually like a competition event that gathers people, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
understandable with the where the sport is going, I guess, with comps. But
That's a
but
trend that's popped
yeah,
up everywhere. Yeah, the casual
yeah,
jam. Although I think it's coming back. I mean, I
exactly.
was talking about this with
Some people
Kevin
are
and a few other
trying
people.
to get it back. So,
Yeah.
slowly, but yeah, I think in Europe
Well,
people
you
are
were
doing
just
that more.
there. Yeah, and you were just there pretty recently. So
Hmm.
what would you say the scene is like now? Because I feel like I'm now seeing a sort of like a next generation. I think Andres Vilela, I don't know how to pronounce his last name correct, if that's anywhere near correct, but
Yeah, it was quite good. It
he
was good. So,
went very viral for a massive running precision,
yeah.
mostly stick to front flip out on a rail, and is just
Yeah.
insane. Like I've been following him for probably 3 or 4 years, and when he finally went viral, I feel like I've been showing people. They're like, what underground people are you looking at that like don't have a lot of followers? I'm like, this guy's got like 3,000 followers. He's
Yeah.
insane. You need to
He
follow
blew
him.
up big
Uh,
time. Was it?
and I'm sure there's a
Um,
lot of other athletes in Brazil who are like
yeah.
that. So what was your most recent trip to Rio like, and how's the community now?
That is actually amazing to see. Like the level increased a lot. And actually, there was at this event in Votes that I went last year. There's a lot of people that I didn't know, or like that I just knew through Instagram, or just like I mean, Andrea I knew because a few years back in Rio I met him. But some other
Mm-hmm.
people like, yeah, I just never heard of, and then I showed like I got very surprised, like in a good way, by the level of the community, I guess, and also like the vibes. Always amazing. Like it was a very good time for me as well. Like I don't know, I was seeing friends that I haven't seen like 6 7 years. I don't know. Uh, and then also meeting a
That's
lot of new
amazing.
people and people who also just knew about me after I moved out. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of a different vibe as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was very interesting. Like it was just fun as well to be at the event. I also competed in skill and then judged style as well. And yeah, it was an amazing vibe. My mom was there to watch me as well. And yeah, I don't know, just seeing all these
Nice.
faces again and feeling that the whole vibe again. It was really good and definitely a lot of like high level athletes, especially now training a lot in the gyms and like focusing a bit on competition. But there's also the scene in Rio right now, especially like been doing a lot in the streets, and they're going like very often out, just hunting challenges as well, and like doing clips. I think Andrea also like do a lot of vlogs and this kind of stuff. But also his
Mm-hmm.
stuff is very educative, and I think it's something that I don't see very often like around. At least I don't see getting viral as much as he's doing. Like he went to TV or some stuff, and I think there's something we need more of, and I really respect about the way that he took his content. Like he just speaks very well as over the camera, like politically talking about parkour and like now, yeah, just with the whole thing that they got viral now, jumping crocodiles or something in Rio, and like
Yes, I saw that one.
yeah, so
I saw
like
that one.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
It's
it
cool
just
though because he'll make a clip that goes kind of it almost is not clickbaity, but he's good at presenting the clickbait version right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I almost fell into this huge sewer pit or whatever, and it's like him going to stick this really sick precision, but then he'll break it down, and he did that with this running precision one as well, where it's like I'm gonna show the success, and then I'm gonna show the like 15 attempts.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
crocodile one, I don't. He sounds very well spoken to me. My Portuguese obviously
Yeah.
is probably as you may guess,
That's it.
not very good, but
Yeah.
uh, that's really cool to hear that he's
But
getting
yeah.
traction and also articulating a little bit
Yeah.
more of the like behind the scenes.
Yeah, but I say that because I think in Brazil in general, the mainstream public needs to change a lot their perspective on parkour as well. I think we had very unlucky time like with parkour on
Mm,
media in Brazil, like
okay.
interviews and like some viral stuff that are not very good, like for parkour, like
Was it just like, is it like a death defying stunts kind of vibe? Or is it like the unlucky time here in America where everybody just goes, oh, The Office? Yeah, that's what parkour
it's
is.
kind of like
You jump on
this
trash cans.
vibe. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to like even think like it was so annoying. It happened in 2020 actually, but it was a meme they took from an interview that someone did at a parkour event, and they joked about the people at this interview like doing moves and stuff. And yeah, it became suddenly a national fucking crazy viral meme. And still to this
Huh.
day, every viral parkour clip, there's someone talking about it, and it really pisses me off. But like, it's endless, like never, never went away, and it's fucking crazy. So
Wow.
like, I really enjoy seeing like people actually taking the time and effort to show parkour in a different way to the mainstream public and actually getting viral and actually getting to that place. And it's actually someone that is cool, you know. Because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really missed out in Brazil on what actually parkour
That's
is, and
crazy.
yeah,
One of the things I
that's
wanted
sad.
to ask you about is like Brazil
Uh-huh.
has such a huge action sports community, like especially women. I think about like Brazilian skateboarding and
Mm-hmm.
like especially women in Brazilian skateboarding. There's a whole style, like an aesthetic of like Brazilian skateboarders. Like the way that they skate is iconic and it's like like flowy and technical. And you know, surfing
Yeah,
obviously in Brazil is huge. So it's wild to me that especially when I see what parkour looks like your style of parkour to me looks like how it basically feels like a direct translation of how like a lot of Brazilian skaters skate. And maybe I don't know skateboarding as well as I know parkour, obviously, but when I
that's so
watch the
weird.
way that they
Okay.
interact and I
Yeah.
watch
Okay.
how you train, I'm like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
feels such a like there's such a vibe. Like it's a common vibe of like technical,
That's funny.
powerful, but it looks kind of low key, it's flowy. And so it's wild to me to hear that unfortunately, Brazil has gone the America route where they go, parkour's not a real sport, actually. These people just somehow are able to do incredible athletic things by luck, and most of them look really stupid all the time. You're like,
Yeah,
what?
it's tough. I think it's slowly changing, but it's still not enough right now. But I'm hopeful. I wish I
You
still
have
like had.
Andre doing good work.
Yeah, I also like wish I had more reach in Brazil. I think since I moved to Europe, I lost a lot of my reach in Brazil for my own
Mm,
content and stuff. But I think recently even like Vans Brazil did something with like parkour on it, like publicity
that's
wise.
cool.
So like it's going
That's super
somewhere.
cool.
You know what I mean? Like they are working with people I know like from parkour too. Like a few times I've seen friends like doing some stuff like that. So I think
Okay.
slowly it's improving like to a sense where like parkour is seen as a cool thing again and like a urban sport, not like a meme,
Yeah,
which is kind of sad.
not a meme.
Yeah.
No, well, I had not
Oh, man.
seen or heard any of that, so I guess
I'm
I'm
glad.
grateful that it didn't make its way out of Brazil, but unfortunately it really cemented itself in Brazil. Well, I also wanted to ask you because you moved to Lisbon, and it was
Mhm.
it 2019, 2018?
2020 was
Okay,
in the middle
2020.
of COVID.
Perfect
Yeah, it was
timing.
a
Yeah, perfect timing. How has it been moving to Europe and coaching and what do you feel like the difference has been for like how parkour is received in Lisbon and then now you're in Belgium where I feel like when I think about places that have the most infrastructure to make parkour an actual career and sort of like a like viable lifestyle, I think about Belgium and I think about Denmark and Norway. Um, how has that shift been for you?
I mean, it's very surreal, I would say, like for me to think. I mean, I did not ever expected I would live in Belgium, I guess, when I was growing up. Like, of course, I wanted to live in Europe and I had these goals of like, oh, maybe one day, you know. But yeah, the way that my life is right now, I didn't expect to have, and I'm very happy about it actually. Like, just to be able to have a cool gym to train. As I said, it took me quite a few years in Brazil to have access to a gym, and I did had a community to train with later on. I think when I was like 15, 16, but before that, I trained like 2 years in my hometown alone, and then yeah, I don't know, like just in Lisbon, also having a great like group of people to train with was also really, really nice. But at some point, we also didn't have the gym anymore because of COVID. Um, and then I injured my leg, and then like the whole Lisbon thing was just like it had a very, very high point and was really, really good and really fun. And at some point, I needed a change, and that's why the Belgium opportunity came up, and I got based installed here. And like, of course, I had another big injury, and other things happened. But it's like just amazing to have the place like this, to have the opportunity to grow and progress in the sport. And I feel like I'm finally feeling like I can do more in this direction again of just pushing myself more and more. Because of
Mm-hmm.
course for some time I was really struggling with that. But then of course having the classes and being able to coach also helped me out a lot during this period. I was not being able to train as much. So it's just been a great combo, and yeah, it's good to be here. Besides the cold,
Yeah.
it's really nice. So
Yeah, the weather's a little bit different from Brazil, I guess, but
yeah,
not too bad. And different from
yeah, that's the
Portugal.
yeah.
Do you feel like coaching for you now is I think a lot of parkour athletes coach because they see it as a consistent way that they can just make enough money to survive, but they don't really, and I know I was like this for a long time. I
Mhm.
coached, but I wasn't really invested in my coaching the way that I was
Mm,
invested in my training. And I didn't see myself, if you asked me what my relationship was to parkour, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a parkour coach. I'd say I'm an athlete. And for me, like training was always kind of the number one focus. And then coaching was like, ah, whatever I do in my training, that will like trickle down and then I'll figure out how to coach from that.
mhm.
Do you think that over the last few years you see yourself more as a coach as well? Or do you feel like for you, well, I was going to say, hopefully the students at Hall 5, if you say, no, I don't see myself as a coach, don't listen to this. But I guess, do you see coaching more
Uh,
as like a thing that you're equally passionate about as its own practice? Or is it kind of like still a, you know, what you learn from parkour you can take into coaching, but your brain is still like fully in the parkour training athlete
mm.
mentality? No
It's
judgment
a
either way.
no,
That
no.
I'm just
It's
curious.
just a hard question because I feel divided in the sense of like I think for me, of course, top things for fulfillment would be being an athlete, being an artist, and then
Mm-hmm.
slightly down being a coach. However, when you're coaching someone that is really interested in parkour and they really want to learn and they have that feeling like like I don't know of achievement or something like that's very positive for them, and you can see that, and that brings that sense of purpose to you, that like I don't know, I
Mm-hmm.
had this joy when I was younger and this person's have this joy as well, like for me that's also
Yeah.
really nice, so I also feel like this kind of fulfillment can happen coaching as well. Of course not every class there's gonna be like that, and if you coach on a consistent basis like 4 or 5 times a week, yeah, it's not always the same. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm very blessed to the kids in Hall 5. There's a lot of very nice kids here that are really motivated and they really like to train. So,
Well-behaved Belgian children. Yeah.
yeah. And
I was
also,
amazed when I went there. I was like, wow, there's so much more well-behaved than some of these
yeah.
American.
And
those
also
wealthy
coaching
New York City
adults and
brats I
stuff.
was
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's crazy. I watched a few classes like around before like all the gyms and stuff, but I think kids here are very good, like in general, and the level is really nice as well. So you could teach things that you're interested in as well. But also the
Yeah, and
adults,
you
I
do get
think
to
I
coach
really like
adults.
to,
Hmm.
yeah, as well. Twice a week I do that, and I think it's also really cool, interaction wise. Like, of course, they sometimes doesn't have us like, I don't know, the same awareness or strength. They have to build up a little bit more, and I also have to figure out ways for it to be achievable and possible. So I really invest also time and brain on that, I would say. So I think I
Hmm.
achieved more, like achieved, no, I got more comfortable with coaching from seeing people achieving things and for also doing more like workshops and also regular classes and stuff. Also, this year I coached a workshop in Switzerland that was really cool. And that really brought me like a cool feeling of like why I do this. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think it's very important to create this connection, uh, to keep
Do you
learning,
feel
like
like,
yeah, going.
yeah, do you feel like when you're coaching, you're also, I think for me, when I coach, it feels like half the time that I'm coaching, it triggers something in my training. So as often as I take something from my training and put it into coaching because I realize this was really helpful for me, or this is
For example,
the experience of going through a jump like this, I want to be able to recreate for a student. There have been so many times where I'm working with a student and I'll see how they react to something, or I'll be breaking down a movement and I'm like, oh, I'd never thought of a reverse vault that way actually. And you'll do a progression and then I'm kind of like, okay, after this session I need to try this new variation that I just figured out. Like, do you feel like you get sort of that inspiration from coaching that you can take back into training as well?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think definitely like sometimes just lines or moves like they can come up with things. Also, this thing that I said
Yeah.
about teaching workshops sometimes to people in different countries, like sometimes you just have an idea and you want to teach them, and then they come up with a crazy move based on that, and it just goes on. Like you learn from them too.
Yeah,
And I think that's a
totally.
cool exchange, when people are actually interested, and you're able to show something that you're passionate about, and you can see they're passionate about that too. So I think that's the main
Yeah.
thing, I guess, for me. It's,
Yeah, when coaching feels like a conversation, I think
yeah,
that is more fun for everybody. It's not, even with kids, I think when you can find ways that kids can have the experience of parkour for themselves and you're just able to kind of guide them through it. And then when they have questions, you're like, I'm here if you have a question, but I'm just really creating the structure for you to learn and train in a safe, not stupid way. And then the rest is kind of on on you. I think that's
yeah,
always a really fun way to do it. Well,
for sure.
I want to go back to Brazil a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited that you, like, you're such a great person to chat about this with because I think you've been to all of the hubs of the European community. You've been here in North America,
Crazy.
like you've competed at SPL, and then you also saw where the Brazil community was 10, 15 years ago. And now we were talking a lot about how there are more gyms coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like what do you feel like separates, or maybe where would you be excited to see the community in Brazil grow more?
I think just like um the street scene and like projects and like yeah, just more content in general that people can look more to Brazil, because I think
I
that's
agree.
what been
More
yeah.
content.
But like good content. But also like I think it's
Yeah,
super
yeah.
important that people from Brazil are finally getting to like SPL, for example, like um in a
Mhm.
group, you know. I was the Brazilian there like I don't know 5 6 years ago by myself, like I don't know. Then couple years later there was a few people who came, one like or another one over like, but no one that really stayed consistently in like coming with me back. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
also because of like of course many reasons in Brazil, like lack of opportunity and money and yeah, a lot of problems socially that Brazil has as well. But it's finally happening, and that brings a bit more attention to us, which I think is really cool. Just of course,
Yeah.
Mateus came here in a SPL in Europe, and he won with like jet lag, like a crazy jet lag, arrived the same morning he qualified, and then competed 2 days after, and still won. And like I don't know, like
Wild.
we have people who are really really good, but these people haven't had the chance to get a spotlight, you know. And
Yeah.
then when
Do you feel
they
like
have, yeah.
competition? Oh no, I'm so sorry. Keep going.
No, I just say when they have, they just have nothing to lose. Of course, like they just trying their best because it might have been the last chance they have. I don't know, but they do what I can do. So.
Yeah. Do you feel like competition is like a big motivator for the Brazilian scene right now? Because I think some communities, I look at like the UK scene,
Mhm.
not that it's anti-competitive, but I think that a lot of the European scenes it's like street training, and then competition is just kind of like, well, if I can fit it into my street training schedule, I'll go to hall 5,
Mm,
or like I'll
yeah,
go to the SPL qualifier. But
yeah.
then some communities seem very, and a lot of American communities are like this, they're like, I'm training for the regional qualifier for speed. Would you say the Brazilian community is more kind of centered around competition right now?
I think we're being divided now. I guess on that. I've seen discussions online with
It's a big
people.
country.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big country, as I said. Like, of course, compared to Europe, like Brazil is bigger than Europe. For anyone that doesn't know,
Yeah.
listening to that, but um, so considering that the community of course have different opinions and different perspectives, and a lot of people still don't have access to gyms, which is very important to mention. Like we have
Mm-hmm.
gyms in the big cities, in Sao Paulo, Rio, and the big centers, but most of Brazil still doesn't have access to that. So of course, yeah, that also influences the training. uh the people I guess now that lives in São Paulo and Rio, I guess, and have access to gyms or work for gyms are seeking more as well this competition side. I think it was for me as well, wanting it or not, a way to get my name out there. And that was something that I had to think about. Like even though okay, training in the street was my favorite to do and still is, but at the time, like
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, I needed to get seen somehow, and
I
Instagram was
remember
not.
that first WFPF Camila Stefaniu appearance. You were
Do
like
you
15
remember?
years old, 16.
Yeah, it was
Oh
2017.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and like also the same story as Mateo's now. Like I had a crazy flight connection. I got stuck in Detroit for like a day. I arrived like late in the comp, didn't have practice, and then I won. Like, and that was me at 15, like just being like, whoa, like I can do this. And then people
yeah.
finally see me. But at the time, Instagram was not like how it is these days, where you can post a clip on Reels and like out of nowhere it gets viral and everyone knows about you. It was like
Mm-hmm.
mostly pictures on Instagram and then Facebook stuff and YouTube, I guess. But
Yeah.
I was also very young and didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the start of Instagram, like
I-
posts and stuff like that, but it was no reels and shit. So it was different. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a
Different
good
type of
way
viral. I
to
think it's also a good. Sorry,
visibility.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say your point about like, to use you as an example, because I remember seeing your videos, and there's a lot of people who look like they are good in video, and when you can see somebody, you're like, oh, that person seems like they're really really sick. Like Andre is a good example, but then you see them next to Tim Champion, or you see them with Daryl or somebody else. It's kind of like when they're on the same obstacles, now you really understand how technical or how powerful that athlete is, because sometimes gaps look insane on camera and you're like, oh, that person's actually just really short, and they're really good, but they're like 5 feet tall or something like that. Or actually, that gap looked pretty big, but it's only, 12 feet. And so when you have competitions as like a benchmark, It's kind of
It's
the
not
same
the
as
same
showing up
as
to
the
IMAX
highest
and doing an NBD or like one of the
level
big IMAX
for that.
challenges where it just
Mm,
it takes a spot that everybody in the community kind of knows that's in
Says
the north. And I say
there's a
community, this is my
splice
biggest pet
that
peeve that I
I
have
had
and that the parkour
over
community online
nearby.
Data.
has. The parkour community is huge when us
Was
being the generally North American and Northern European parkour community talks about it. We say community as if there is no parkour community outside of Europe, US, Canada, Australia, and totally
Uh,
forget that South America has arguably a bigger parkour community than North America, if not inarguably a bigger parkour community than North America, that there's a huge community in Asia, there's a huge community in India that nobody talks about. So I do want to
yeah.
also acknowledge that. And like that's why I love having this conversation is, it should be viable for a Brazilian athlete to go viral and for people to just be like, that's one of the best up and coming athletes in the world without them having to go to Belgium or go to London or go to
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
And
think
also,
unfortunately you're right
yeah,
that that is where it's
that
at.
it's a way, but also it's not the only way nowadays, which is good, but it's still a way. But still, I think
Mm-hmm.
we have just the problem, like for example, in competition that I mean, we have specific competitions, but not necessarily SPL would be, I would say, measuring how good someone is, by their performance on it. If you
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying, like Andrea wouldn't do good in the skill in
Totally.
SPL. He's my height, and it's a
So that
fact.
running precision was only 12 feet long. I got, and now
It's
we know.
actually it's actually not. He's actually have a fucking insane power for like I don't know for how
Yeah.
short he is. He's slightly I think taller than me, but yeah, maybe he wouldn't do too well in SPL. Maybe I'm wrong, because I'm also a short person that trying to prove myself wrong on that, trying to compete with
I love
everyone taller
watching
than
you
me.
and Megan do the same challenges. It's my
I know,
favorite thing.
yeah, it's hilarious, man. Like I look at the skill finals every year, and I'm the shortest always there. And like it's a challenge for me, but it's something that I take for myself. Like I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be better. Like I need to
Mm-hmm.
train more because I need to jump more because I need to jump as much as them. But also depends on this kind of challenge as well. I think competitions in skill can be more variety. That can be more variety. Can have more variety. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, what they like to do is put things a bit just big, and that
Yeah.
impacts somehow athletes. And I think, especially in the male division, if there's a huge gap, that's going to impact someone a lot. So, in that sense, you can't say the competition says how good someone is in parkour. And I think then being able to show that through actual real parkour, which would be the street parkour. I just don't like to
Mm-hmm.
say that because then it says I'm against gyms or something like that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I just you have this perspective myself that like I would train things in the gym and I would try to bring them to the street, and that would be my end goal and most pure form of parkour that I could feel like I can do. And then training for competition is like I'm training for a parkour competition, but like that's it. You know, I don't know. I don't have like this deeper feeling with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, it's just like just a different perspective on like, okay, these people are finally being able to show themselves on social media, and then there's this other side of people who are actually now being able to get to more comps as well, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just popping up in different places. And I think it's just showing how big Brazilian community is and how good we are. It's just the lack of eyes on people there, I guess, in general. So,
Yeah. I
mhm.
think your point that competition doesn't also determine like how good you are is a good one to just reiterate because there are plenty of athletes who are phenomenal. Most of the people who would have commons parts that everybody loves, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
that Chris Roth would win a style comp or a skill comp. I'm sure
Hmm.
he would do pretty well in both of them,
Pretty
but it's
good, yeah,
about
for
how
sure.
he applies the skills that he has to the streets and has like a unique vision for movement that is authentic to him. Like that's what draws people to him as an athlete. But I appreciate that you brought up like again to kind of create this like I don't want to create this distinction, but I do think it's worth saying again that there are probably many athletes like myself who grew up in the part of the international English speaking community where it's easy to sort of be like penetrate the awareness of the internet's parkour mind, and it's
Hmm.
easy for me to have a conversation with Callum. It's easy for me to like, you know, talk to these guys because it's my native language. I'm not that far geographically. We don't see competition as a way to, or many of us I think don't see competition as a way to just be like, I need to do this to just get into the conversation, to like get my foot in the door, to meet these people. And it is a great opportunity to do that, especially at these big events like
Yeah,
SPL. And now that there are more qualifiers, like I'm so glad SPL has global qualifiers. I know they've got like South Korea this year.
as well. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, did you know where the South American qualifier is? So I think they do have one, but I
It
don't
was
remember if
the
it's
one. It
in.
was this event in Rio that I went to. It was last year.
Oh, it was the one in Rio. Okay,
Yeah, it was the
perfect.
one in
Yeah.
Rio. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So,
Unfortunately, just one event, which I
yeah,
think
so I think that
it's
that's a
also
great opportunity.
it's really good. But also not enough, I guess, to avoid like what Mateus
Yeah.
did to come all the way here to try to qualify because he lost
Mhm.
there. But
Yeah.
it goes on. Yeah, it's okay. It at
Yeah,
least
we'll get
it's a
there. We'll
step.
get
You know,
there because
we're
to
going
your
up.
point,
Okay. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and it's like what is the population of Brazil compared to the population of Europe, right? It's
Like
like
how many
probably
qualifiers we had
pretty
in Europe?
similar.
Just in Europe, like we had like five
Yeah,
qualifiers. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. It was like a lot of
Yeah.
events anyway. But here we have more events and jams in general because
Yeah,
from country to country, of course, people have more money and it's easier and blah blah blah. But anyway,
totally. And it
one more.
needs to start somewhere before you build up the like maybe in 3 more years Brazil has what the USA has now where it's like there's 5 regional qualifiers and people can build up to a big one. Well, gonna we'll go through a couple more questions.
Okay.
I know we're getting low on some storage and stuff. I do
Yeah.
want to ask you, your style is so flowy and powerful and unique. If somebody wanted to move the way that you move and I mean that in the best way possible, just if they wanted to get a little bit more flowy, if they wanted to learn how to, I guess, interact with obstacles in a more Camilla like way, do you do anything in your training that you would
Mm.
recommend, like whether it was way back in the day that you think influenced your movement now, or now that you do that you found to be really helpful?
I watched Fosky a lot.
Fosky and Tam, there we go.
Yeah, but my yeah, Fosky a lot. But
That's amazing.
the footwork is crazy. Like I say footwork as a way to like say for parkour as well, but of course it's a term from dance. But the steps, you know,
Mhm.
and the lines, like 1 2 papa, 1 2
Yeah,
papa, papa. There's a rhythm, and that's the thing like that I started to think about from very early on. Like there's a rhythm to movement. It's not one movement, run, another movement, run, another move, one. So I do a movement, and where does it make sense for my body to go next? Where does this momentum gives me? Okay, can I change something to go the other direction if I go a different direction? And like just seeing what it works. It is classic to say it's a little puzzle, but it is a little puzzle. It's just boop, 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 trying to get the pieces together and see what fits and what doesn't fit, and play with what you can do with whatever spot you have as well. Um, I think also just figuring out like what do you like to do as well. I think is a very good direction because of course you can be flowing in different ways. I wouldn't say like also don't try to copy me. You know that's how you want to move like Camila flow way style, but I also think everyone has a personal flow that they can find like in a way like their own style of movement, and
yeah,
I think that's what people should aim to have. Of course, like I could say, like I'm
yeah,
very influenced by Fosky, and I was very influenced by like other people too, but like I don't move like them or like trying like forcing myself to look like them, you know. and I think it just references. But yeah, I think that's it. That's the flow ideas that I have
The
for.
rhythm. Yeah, that's great. No, I think that's great. The rhythm is a good thing. I think it's something that we kind of many of us know, but it's always good to be reminded is to feel the rhythm of the movement, feel where it needs to speed up, where you can actually slow down sometimes. And I think you're really good at like you're not frantic when you move. You always have the right pace for the movements that you're doing. Like some movements feel like they want to be a little bit slower, and when I watch you move, I feel like I see you recognize that and slow down and just kind of like, ah, this reverse fall actually wants to be like a little bit slower and give it a little bit extra time. And then when I land, I'm going to speed up into this next thing. And it's always good to be reminded to pay
Yeah,
attention to the rhythm that you're creating with your steps and your movement.
that's a good thing that you point out as well, because it's not just going too fast or going too slow. It's also this in betweens, the stuff, and like being able to slow down and go back up, but uh, making it still look natural and yeah, in a nice way, you know. So
Yeah, totally. And that is, and when it feels most natural, it's like when you walk, you don't walk the way that you walk outside, or like if you're on a hike or something. It's not like on a treadmill where you're going the same speed for an hour straight. You know, you just naturally, some things you want to go a little faster, sometimes you want to go a little slower.
yeah,
And I think that's a good reminder.
that's for
And I do
sure.
have one more question.
Okay.
If you have to recommend a piece of media to a listener, so it could be like a book, a podcast, a movie, an album, anything, what would it be? Art, because I know you're a phenomenal
Any
artist.
any media.
Any piece of media, the whole world of media. If you just wanted to share one thing that interests you with the listener.
There's a book I read a couple years ago that I'm reading again now that is pretty good. I mean, you actually have to do the stuff for the book. You just cannot just read the book. But I don't know if you heard about it. It's called The Artist's Way. It's
I don't think so.
it's a pretty good book. I would say it's a very nice book. And yeah,
Who's the
that's it.
author? Do you know off the top of your head?
She's called Julia Cameron, I think. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know how famous this is.
Nice,
But
The Artist's Way.
yeah, it's a very good book. But yeah, just saying, anyone with artist interest can be parkour, can be anything else, can be painting. I like to paint too. So it goes on. Yeah, and I share music frequently on Instagram just for the sake of it. Something that I like. Sometimes I just throw in there. But yeah, that's it. Man, I'm scared now.
I love it.
My
I
thing is
love the
sending me
music
like
recommendations.
a low device storage telling me something.
That's all it's all good. I feel like we're at a good spot to
I
call
hope
it because we ran through everything
you see.
and that has been fantastic. We can always hit around too if the listener's like, no, I want more Camilla. I hope you all found that as refreshing as I did to listen back to it. Camila is just such a light in our community, and I love how the sort of her presence and the fact that she did move to Europe and has brought, you know, a lot more visibility to the Brazilian scene and the South American scene in general. I think it's just been such a huge benefit for our community to see her continue to grow in prestige, to see her succeed in competitions. And man, can I not wait for that street part through the commons. Whenever that gets released, I'm going to be so excited. I'm sure it will be an instant favorite knowing her movement. And until then, I will stay as always, incredibly dialed in on her gram for all the new posts. She's always sharing the coolest movement, the most fun interpretations of space, whether it's inside at Hall 5 or outside at those spots in Leuven. If you're not following her on all the socials, definitely do that and drop some love for Camila in the comments. This helped make my week a lot better to listen back and edit this, and I hope it helped you as well. Thank you, as always, for listening. I appreciate your support, and I will catch you next week.